upload it. So welcome back to the Lift Your Life podcast, and we are joined once again by one of my absolutely amazing clients for today's episode. Now, the reason I absolutely love to get my clients on these podcasts is because we're going to be talking about a topic which is something I've talked about a lot, which is all about sort of fad diets, slimming world, why you don't want to be doing these approaches, why these approaches don't work. But I sometimes feel that when I'm saying it, it's kind of like, oh, well, it's her job. Of course she's saying it because she doesn't want them to go to slimming world. She wants them to work with her. And I've not actually done these things. There's some things I have done, so I can speak on experience on, but there's a lot of things I haven't done. And I think it's very powerful to hear it from someone who's been there, done that. So they can share their experiences with you, share their story, and ultimately help you to not make the same mistakes or errors that they did, because that's why I share a lot of the things that I've done wrong, because I don't want anyone to feel the way I did or waste time in their life just trying these things that don't work or leave you feeling worse. So I've got my amazing client, Emma, on board today. Emma, we've been working together a good while now, haven't we? Can't get rid of you.
Yeah, I know you can't. I feel like it's been nearly a year, which is crazy, actually.
It
Crazy.
is.
It's flowing over.
Time flies when you're having fun, as they say. But
100%.
yeah, Emma, to give people a little bit of an insight, just to start with, is to sort of where you're at with me, why you signed up, just a little bit of context on you as a person. That horrible, awkward question that you get asked.
Yeah.
Tell me something about yourself, and you're like,
Yeah, what do I start with? Where do I start? Yeah, no, really good question. So I guess before I came to Lift Your Life, I was a habitual Slimming World person. Like I maybe have rejoined that club about 4 or 5 times, with varying degrees of, I don't know if you could call it success, because every time that I rejoined, I put on a significant amount of weight. So it's never been a consistent journey. It's always been lose weight, then put on weight, lose weight, put on weight. And so I was really looking for something completely different, to be honest. I was looking to kind of understand more about nutrition, understand about how to fuel my body like properly, how to, build strength and fitness in a sustainable way. So none of these quick wins, I really didn't want to do that anymore. I really wanted to kind of learn and grow my understanding. And that's why I was definitely looking for kind of a coach that would help me do that. And I think with Slimming World, like I said, I've done it a number of times, and I just couldn't put myself back into that environment again. I really couldn't. Some of the things that you learn about, and like just the behaviors, it was just, I just knew that I needed something totally different, and something that was just generally going to be better for my mental health as well. So that's why I knew coaching and the kind of the support that's provided is not just about, a fitness program. It's not just about nutrition. It's like it's a rounded package. And I felt like that was definitely what I needed. And that's why obviously I reached out to you, Lucy, like a year ago now, and thought I needed something different. And I'm still here. So it's working.
I'm clearly doing something right by the sounds of things. Amazing. So I want to dive a little bit more. We'll talk about your journey and the progressions we've made together a little bit later on in the podcast. But I actually want to take a few steps back to go back to those Slimming World days. And people who've listened to the podcast, people who know me know that I'm a bit of a Slimming World basher. I'm not a fan, but there's a reason for it. I'm not just I hate everything that's not my approach, because my way is the only way. There are reasons for why I'm so against these approaches, for the reasons that Emma's already kind of mentioned, that they don't realistically work for many reasons. So I want to just go back to, if you can remember, the start of your fitness, health, weight loss journey. Where did things start for you, and what made you choose Slimming World? So or did you try anything before that? So let's go as far back as you can remember to where things started for you.
Yeah, so I'd finished my 3rd year of university, and I'd put on a load of weight during uni, like as probably a lot of people do. You're drinking, you're not eating right, you're just like living your best life. And I think I heard about Slimming World, so this was probably 10 years ago now. And I think maybe I got a promotional leaflet through the door, or like someone had referred me and said, maybe you should give this a go. And it was completely alien to me. Like I'd never thought about categorizing food in this way and like having a food diary. Like it was all just this kind of brand new like approach to thinking about diets and nutrition, if you can even say it was about nutrition, but like, you know, like when you're weighing food out and having to think about the amount of carbs or protein or dairy you're having, it was just completely new to me. And I think for the first time I did it, I did lose like 2 stone. I felt like really good in myself. So I did have, you know, it did work, I think, in some ways. But now when I look back, I think, God, like that environment and what you're putting yourself through every single week, going into that kind of meeting setting where you feel really shameful if you've had a really shit week or a really bad week, and you feel like you starve yourself before you're getting weighed, you like wear the lightest clothes, you like, you know, you kind of come together, and you'd think it would help being around other people that are on the same journey, but I actually found it really, looking back, like just, yeah, quite bizarre actually, that you're openly praising people about certain things they're doing in their diet that actually when you look at it you're like, well, that's not great, and then you just feel really crap if you've put on weight. So it is a weird environment, and I think, yeah, even though, so I think the reason why I went back is because I'd had success, so I'd kind of lost 2 stone, but like I said, put on 2 stone again, or maybe like a stone, it wasn't necessarily the full 2 stone, and then thought, oh, maybe I'll go back because it has been successful. But every time I've never been able to kind of maintain that, because I don't think it's a program that is for maintenance. You know, it's about weight loss, and it's not even in the right way. Like, you'd see people losing 10 pounds in a week, and you're like, that's just a crazy amount of weight to lose. And of course, like, if you start fueling your body in the right way, maybe you wouldn't be losing that amount. But that, I don't know, I feel like you're in this environment where that's what you want these big losses. And obviously when you,
wasn't it, because you have to like share, don't you, in the group, like how much you've lost. It almost becomes about the Biggest Loser thing, where everyone's
like,
weighing,
literally
feel like a competition.
Yeah, and so when you think you've had a good week, you only lose a pound, you then feel really disheartened, and that's when, like, I think I still really struggle with the scales. And obviously we've talked about that, Lucy. Like, I feel like all of the relationships I have with my weight stem from Slimming World, because pre Slimming World, like I said, I wasn't even aware, like I didn't think about weight in that way. And then going into that environment, I think I then became very obsessed with what the scales said. And I still really struggle with things like eating avocado, because I like know the sin value of an avocado, and I'm like, they don't encourage you to do that. Or, you know, it's all little things like that where you're trying to unlearn some of these like crazy behaviors. And that's still like part of my journey now. I still really sometimes struggle with that. But I think that's why when I was looking for a coach and thinking about what I wanted, I don't really think that group environment, that group setting, like you say, it's very it feels competitive. It doesn't feel supportive. It doesn't feel like you've got your cheerleaders in your corner. And because it's like a one set approach for everyone, it just feel like, well, why is it working for some people and not me? Whereas I think with coaching, obviously it's really bespoke to you as an individual, and like what your ambitions are and your goals are. Absolutely. Which is, yeah, amazing.
It is. And just to touch on that as well, like when we do ever share wins as a group, it's so diverse, isn't it? Like whenever you've seen like it in the Facebook group or the group chats and we're sharing wins, there's no 2 wins that are the same. Some people's might be, I've managed to lose a bit of weight this week. Some people's might be, I got into the gym and did this. Some people's might be that I had a full week where I hit my steps. I had the confidence to do this. Everyone's wins are different. Yeah. And one thing that Slimming World fails to do anyway is that it doesn't take into consideration where people are at in their journey, how much weight they've got to lose, how active they are. Because for some people, if you are a really, really sedentary person and you don't really have that much weight to lose, you know, for you, the expectation of like maybe half a pound to a pound a week would actually be quite, in terms of like the grand scheme of things, quite good in terms of what you'd expect. Whereas if you're someone who's got loads of weight to lose, and then you know, you're really active, but you're only losing half a pound. Well, that's not as expected. So there's no like comparisons of what's expected. Like someone heavier inevitably probably is going to lose more weight. Someone who's in week 1 is inevitably going to lose more weight. So that whoosh effect. Someone who's also exercising. So there's no expectations of what is actually realistic or kind of expected based. So everyone's in that same boat. So some people will be comparing, like, I've lost 2 pounds and feel amazing. Someone's gonna be like, I lost 2 pounds and feel rubbish. But there's just no comparison. I find that really bizarre that you can't compare yourself to someone who's got 40 pounds to lose to someone who's got maybe 100 to lose. Like, your rate of loss is going to be different. And regardless, a lot of people who do Slimming World, they're not in it purely to lose. Well, and the thing is, right, they're in it to lose body fat for a reason. And that's where you never get to. So you join Slimming World because you want to lose body fat for a reason. But no one talks about those reasons in their wins. No one talks about the confidence in terms of their health. No one talks about how it makes them feel. It's always that number. And we know as well that weigh-ins are weigh-ins, which is weights. Weights is not 100% body fat. So your weigh-ins are a multitude of things. The clothes, like with Slimming World as well, the fact that you do it sometimes on an evening wearing clothes, well, that's just stupid, because that's going to be skewed by potentially the clothes you wear, the time of day it is, how much food you've had that day, and so many other factors, menstrual cycles, food, you know, if you've had more carbohydrates that day, that holds as water, which is not a bad thing, but it is going to inevitably bump that scale up. So there's so many inaccuracies with it anyway. It's not even an accurate way of actually weighing in. And no weight isn't fat. Like, if you actually look at Emma's like weigh-ins, quote unquote, from our time working together, we've not seen any sort of crazy differences, have we, really? But your body composition, when we talked about it in your photos the other day, right?
Yeah, that's what's really crazy, actually. Like you say, I think when you're doing Slimming World, you become obsessed with the scales, and like you say, it's about fat loss. But I actually think, when you look at my journey with you, Lucy, like, I am actually always shocked when I do a comparison of pictures, because my body shape has completely changed. And like you say, my weight hasn't really fluctuated. It hasn't really changed that much, but everything else has, and that's why it's still, like, for me, slightly challenging, because I'm like, oh, I want the weight to move, but actually you're really good at being like, no, go look at your pictures, look at your like centimeter difference, like your body's like changing. It doesn't, and your weight's not like the definition of that. Everything else is, and that's amazing. So it is a journey, definitely, for me right now, still trying to unlearn some of that, but it is amazing. And I say to lots of people, because I still have friends that do Slimming World and stuff, and I just say, like, you're getting into bad habits where you're not eating properly, you're not fueling your body properly, and then you're binging on pasta or whatever because you can, because there's no like portion control, nothing about calories or anything. It's like they just group food and they just say you can have as much of this as you want. And it's just some of it's just so crazy to think about now. I remember, like, on weigh days, I wouldn't eat. I'd maybe have like a mug shot, which is obviously not anything to.
And they taste absolute shit as well. Let's be real.
Yeah,
awful. They're absolutely
awful. And I feel like I felt really restricted, because every time you'd have a takeaway, or every time you'd go out for dinner, or every time you'd have a sweet treat, you just feel the food guilt that would come from that, and you just felt like you'd completely messed up your day. So then you do like I don't know what they're called. Are they called, I think, like an SP day, or where you like restrict certain types of carbs and certain type of food to basically try and combat that. And I just got into a really bad cycle of possibly like overindulging on some days and then starving myself on other days, to try and balance that out. And it just, I just got into a really bad place with how I was seeing food and weight and my own weight. So it is, I think, everything that we've kind of talked through, in terms of my journey, and just, looking at my body composition now, it's a much better measure. So I say to everyone, do your measurements and take pictures. Like, don't look at the scales, really.
It's just a bit of a guidance and a gauge, isn't it? And like I said, the intention of these people who are coming is, no one is going to go, I want to lose X amount of weight, because you don't know how you're going to feel at that weight. Everyone who joins a Slimming World or starts a diet is chasing a feeling, aren't they? That's what you want. It's that feeling of feeling better in yourself, feeling more confident, being able to go and buy the clothes you want to wear, feeling comfortable on holiday. It's those feelings that you're chasing, or potentially the health side of things as well. And maybe you've been told that a lot of people will join because they've had a health scare, or they're seeing where their BMI sits and they're not happy about it. So you're chasing those metrics. But then it completely shifts, doesn't it? The second that you go into an environment like that, where the success measurement of tracking is purely within, are you sticking to the plan and are you losing weight on that? And that is success and failure, isn't it? Success is you've had your days doing your points and your sins and all that shit. And then you've seen the scale go down, amazing. X plus Y equals Z. And it's like, that's all that's given. But it's like, no, because if you're chasing that feeling, the reality is people are chasing those feelings for the long haul. There's very few people that will be doing it for I just want to tidy up on holiday and I don't really care about afterwards. For most people doing these big things, you know, it's making a big life commitment because you want to change things for the long term. But that's never discussed, is it? Like, you don't discuss habits, you don't discuss other things that can impact on the scale. You don't be discussing your feelings. You don't be discussing like, have you gone and had your bloods done, or your blood pressure taken? Has it gone down? Should we celebrate that? There's none of that. And we also know, don't we, that even if you follow everything to the absolute T and letter, your scale might just not play ball that week. And that does not mean that you have failed. It doesn't mean that the plan isn't working. It's just, okay, that's not gone to plan this week because of potentially something outside of your actual control. But what has gone well? And there's always something else that we can talk about. If you have stuck to things 100%, well, there's things within that sticking to the plan that are to be celebrated. And you don't get that, do you? You get made to feel like a failure because the weight hasn't moved, even though you've done everything by their book.
Done everything.
Correct.
Exactly. And you're so right. There is no other success measure than weight loss. And I think, you know, I've hit my target, as in what I wanted my weight to be, I think 3 times. And I've always felt as soon as I've hit that target weight, obviously there's like a big, you know, round of applause, like Emma's got to target, you know, here's your badge, here's your sticker, I don't know, whatever it is. But then as soon as you've hit it, I felt like the support was just completely like pulled out from under you. Like there was no consideration about actually, well, how do you then think about sustaining that, maintaining that, and think about like other things that you might want to be thinking about in terms of your health and fitness. There's just nothing else. And I think you're so right to point out about the mindset as well. There's no conversations around just general improvements in confidence or thinking about other things beyond weight. And I just, that's just in just being in that environment where you are just so fixated on it. It's just not good. And I think in the moment you become really fixated on it and you become really obsessed with, you know, the plan and doing things a certain way. But then when I look back on that time, I'm like, God, I didn't feel like I was really living my life. No. You know, I felt really, really restricted. Where like I wasn't, you know, able to really enjoy like different occasions. And I basically lived off mugshots and Miller Lights for like 5 years, and it was just awful, like just awful. So I feel anyone's pain if they've gone through it or they're still in it, because it's just
it is, isn't it? What I find really ironic about it is one of their biggest kind of like selling factors is they try and promote that it's very, very flexible, and you know, it's not like you have to follow a meal plan. There's lots of different food varieties that you can have. But everyone then gets into that boat, don't they, where they're pretty much just eating like mugshots and Muller Lights and all those crappy things because I remember working in Holland and there was a scam brand or something that everyone became obsessed with. And like I worked in Holland Bar and used to get the signal just coming in all the time. Have you got the scam brand in? No. For fuck's sake, I don't have free food. I was like, okay, it's not my fault. But the reality is it is restrictive because you've got a points value. You have to stick in your points or your sins. If you go over that, ruined it. So why if you want to go over your sins one day? You know, there's no like way of like balancing it. Whereas we can go, okay, so if you wanted to have a slightly higher calorie meal out this weekend, then either we're just going to, you know, accept it for being one meal because it's one meal in the scheme and it doesn't mean the plan's ruined, or we can account for it in different ways. So with Slimming World, you can't pull back from anything. It's like if you've gone over the sins, you've gone over them. Whereas we could go, well, we're going to have a smaller breakfast and lunch today, and then you can fit it in. There's no way of doing that. But my biggest issue lies in the fact that yes, I help people with weight loss and help people with fat loss, but my intentions with people are to be the happiest, healthiest version of themselves. And health and happiness comes not just from the weight you lose, but where your food is coming from, so the nutrients, and fitness, exercise. And those two things are just not really spoken about. And if they're spoken about in completely infactual ways. And it blows my mind that people are able to sit in these church halls and preach to people about these things, that this is the way to do things, but it's all factually incorrect. You don't have a fucking clue what you're on about. So the fact that exercise is referred to as body magic, which sounds like something you'd teach to primary kids at PE, blows my mind. It's not body magic. It's not magically melting your fat away. It's keeping you fucking healthy and fit. And it's something that everyone should be prioritized. And there's no discussions about how you can do it to work for you. You know, I don't think everyone should have to go to the gym, but do they talk about the importance of just general day-to-day movement of steps? They talk about trying different sports and different things and why it's so goddamn important. No. And as well,
no, they don't.
Like you said, certain nutrients are demonized because they do get it kind of right in that they're saying, you know, there's a big focus on lean proteins, eating sort of the good quality whole carbohydrates, fruit and veggies. That is spot on. But then the fact that fats are completely pretty much demonized, like they're sin values. I understand pulling fats down in a dieting phase is probably it's the easiest macronutrient to bring down because they're more dense. But there's no talk about, well, once you're going into maintenance, let's increase your dietary fats because they're so beneficial. And let's be real, the majority of Slimming World is women, right? The majority of people going in, I'd say probably about 90-95%. Women need fats in their diet for hormonal health. Why are we basically making women fear fats? Because they're so good for you. And the fact that there's just so many things that just don't make any sort of logical sense, right? So for example, I remember my mum's a Slimming Worlder, and I remember when I was getting into fitness, I had a look through the books out of interest just to compare what I was doing to what she was doing, and just realizing how much was just illogical. So chicken breast, right? Chicken breast, you can have as much of that as you want because it's a free food. Cool, understandable. But the reality is that the macro profile in terms of what is composed, the amount of protein, fats, carbs of chicken to whey protein, pretty similar. Couple of calories difference, maybe a gram of carbs, but nothing much. But you have to count whey protein as points or sins or whatever. It's got a sin value, but it's pretty much identical. Where's the logic?
Yeah. Well, there's no logic, Lucy. That's the point, isn't it? I feel like they don't explain the kind of the rationale for why they've like categorized certain things in certain ways. So you do come away not really understanding like how you're fueling your body, if you're fueling your body correctly. Like you said, they just categorize them as free foods or speed foods or I don't know, whatever they are now. But you don't understand why that's the case and like what you should be thinking about. And like you say, there's no conversation about your lifestyle, about whether you go to the gym 4 times a week and you therefore might want to up your protein. There's nothing around that at all. I mean, just thinking about, like you say, body magic is such a hilarious name, and then I feel like it's image therapy, which is like the group session. It's just all just crazy. But I guess the only positive thing I would say, actually, like from what you just said, it does encourage people to think about using, you know, whole foods and thinking about cooking from scratch. So that is something that I think, you know, I was cooking better at the time when I'd come from a period of just eating takeaways. But I'm now haunted by the fact that I really can't ever eat chili because I had so much chili, like so much bolognese on Sunday morning. I'm like, I can't ever have it again. Like, just no. It's just, you know, because like you say, you get stuck into a bit of a routine around what you think you need to have on the plan. So it means you're less adventurous, you're less, you don't really want to step out of that.
And you're completely right in that there is some benefits. Like I said, they've got it right in terms of prioritizing lean protein. They've got it right in terms of maybe reducing your dietary fat intake, increasing fiber, cooking from scratch. They have got those bits right. Like a lot of those principles do carry over from what I will be saying to you. But there's no education, like you said. And again, you can't be following you shouldn't be following the same approach to lose the weight as you should be doing to maintain it. Because when you are losing weight, let's be real, there has to be an element of restriction because you have to bring down the overall calorie intake. It's science. But when you're maintaining, there should be a bit more room of flexibility. And like I said, especially increasing things like your dietary fat intake. Why is there no like reverse diet Slimming World? Do you know what I mean? Like for anyone who's with me, who loses weight and wants to get to a place where they want to sustain it, we will bring them up to maintenance and start to then increase flexibility. To then get to that sustain point. What they did to lose weight, we can't do forever because it's miserable and it's just not sustainable for the long haul. But
Mm.
there is no
Mm-hmm.
afterwards, is there? There is no like after diet. There is no reverse diet maintenance strategy, which I'm not sure
No.
saying this really because they're probably going to steal that, but that would be really good, to be honest, if they did have that. Because it's like a
Yeah.
weekend program. Okay, we've got you to where you want to be. You've learned quite a lot of decent habits here, which is great. Now let's keep a lot of these habits, but let's start to introduce some other things to get you to a point where you can make this a bit more maintainable, a bit more sustainable, by having more flexibility with your like sins maybe, and maybe not accounting for certain sins on certain days when you go out for meals, and starting to actually then mentally move away from sins and like the green and the same. I want to phase people out of tracking. It's the same principle, but they don't do any of that. And that, they're actually missing a trick there. That would be really good. But the reason they're not doing that, and I'll tell you the reason they're not doing that, it's not that they're missing a trick. It's that they want people to leave, go off,
Yes, and they want people to come back.
and come back. And they have that reliance and dependence. That's their model.
Yeah, because when you're at target, like once you've hit your target weight, you don't have to pay anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't then want to encourage you to stay on track because they lose your money. So it's an obvious part of their model to like not support you when you hit your target weight, because if I think there's like a window of like £6 either side, and if you go above that, then you start paying again. So it's just like, yeah, their model is for you to basically fail.
That's the intention.
Yeah.
And that's
like
where
you feel like you might have succeeded, but actually you haven't really.
That's where my anger lies most, more than anything. That the business model success, the reason it's a multi-billion-pound corporation and why these companies are, is because they depend and rely on people fucking up and failing.
Yeah.
Because that's more lifetime revenue value of that member or that client. And that's where I like to do things a lot different. Yes, could I like not teach you anything that you need to know, get you a banging result, but then you're like not sustaining it, so you have to stay? Of course I could, but that's just immorally wrong. And that's why I want to do things different for people, is that I want people to achieve the result in the time frame we map out. And if they want today to continue to better things, amazing. But I ultimately want people to be able to leave and sustain it. That's my intention. I don't want people to leave and have to come back or have to go do something else.
Yeah.
So quite
interesting. And I think go on, sorry, Lisa, I was going to say, but I think because you've had your own journey and you really relate to like the struggles that some of your clients are going through, I think that is something that's so powerful. Like, I feel like when you're at Slimming World, just, I always sometimes feel the consultants like don't quite have very different situations and circumstances and don't quite understand it. Whereas I think like the coaching that you provide is just because you're also going through your own journey and you want to empower women to make to have their own journey and to have whatever that result looks like for them, and like you say, sustain it ultimately. I think that's a very different message. Do you know what I mean? And that's why it's been amazing working with you so far.
Amazing. Well, that kind of lends nicely onto the next thing I was going to ask then. So before we sort of go into what you've achieved and what's changed, it'd be interesting to hear about what things you've learned and shifted your mindset of from working with myself around things maybe like exercise, steps, progress tracking, food, that you've changed from Slimming World, or what you've learned. It'd be really interesting to hear that, because I think that's one of the most important things for me, for people like yourself who come from these diets, is the education side, and to help you see things in a different way and actually learn what you need to know. So I guess we could break it down. So from an exercise perspective,
let's break it down, because
Body Magic days, what were you actually doing any sort of formal exercise when you were at Slimming World?
Not really. I don't think it was a driver. Like I've dabbled with the gym a bit, but never been a consistent gym goer until we started working together. And I think for me, I've always been one of those people that gets quite major, or used to get major gym anxiety. Like I'd feel like I'd walk into the gym and automatically go to the cardio machines, because that's where I felt most comfortable, like on a cross trainer or a bike. And then working with you obviously built up massive amounts of confidence, obviously going through the program and the sessions that you've planned for me. Obviously I've started at one gym, I changed to a completely different gym because I felt like this environment was better for me and I felt more comfortable. It's got loads more loads of different types of machines that I never would have gone on and used a year ago. I think I've just noticed a significant shift in how I feel about working out. I really enjoy it. I think that's probably the highlight of my week, is every time I go into the gym, I come out feeling really buzzed and like feel really strong. And I think for me, I've just started to really notice the fitness gains in the last 3 months, where I don't know, it's just suddenly changed. Like weight training's been great, but I just feel like my stamina and endurance is just completely different to where it was a year ago. And that all comes down to the fact that I've been able to go consistently, and I feel really comfortable to do that. And I guess the other thing to say is that when my anxiety has been high, because I do suffer from anxiety and I've had some really stressful periods over the past year, we've obviously built in home workouts as well. So I think having that flexibility to be able to work out at home, and fit that into like busy days, but then also go to the gym, has been really, really beneficial. But I love it. I just love it now.
He does. I get all these messages coming from, Lucy, I've just done it on the Stairmaster. It's amazing. And I think that's one thing, what I was trying to get at is that when you talk at Slimming World about like the body magic, exercise is kind of perceived, isn't it, or illustrated as a bit of like a means to an end. If you do the gym and you do exercise, it's going to just help you lose weight a bit faster. And that's what it's there for. But obviously you've improved your health with it, because like you said, your stamina's improved, your strength's improved. So why your body had changed the way that it has, not only is it the calorie deficit from the nutritional side and increasing protein, but the fact that you're resistance training, like your back, your waist is coming more because we're creating that V taper. Your stomach is so much more like the difference is just crazy, isn't it? It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
What it is about for me
amazing.
is how it made you feel. And the impact that resistance training, the cardio, the resistance training, all of it, whether it's home or the gym, has made you feel, and the benefit that it's added to you mentally. So talk a little bit about that, because I see it all the time. Whenever you leave your little workout comments and your messages and your check-ins, there's so much positivity after your sessions about amazing, I feel good. So it's not just change things physically from like how you look, but how you feel, right?
Yeah, 100%. It's that thing where it sounds really cheesy, but it really, like, working out really does give you endorphins, and I really am like a big promoter of that. Like, getting yourself to the gym is the hardest bit. Like, actually getting yourself there is sometimes can be really painful, but I feel like once you're there, I just feel really happy, really motivated. I love the fact that it's like focusing on my body rather than on other things, and having that time for myself. And then when I leave and, like you say, I've achieved something, I'm on cloud nine. So yeah, the other day when I was able to be on the Stairmaster for 15 minutes, and I've never been able to do that in the past year, and I came off and I was like, oh my God, did I just do that? And I was just absolutely buzzing for the rest of the week. It's like number one highlight of last week was that. And to the point where I went to the gym the other day and I was like, oh, maybe I'll come to Stairmaster again. But I would never have said this 6 months ago, a year ago. And I just get excited about the things that we're doing and the plan we have, and the opportunity to like learn different, do different things at the gym and at home. That's been a real like game changer for me in terms of like what we've done. Because like I said before, I would never have done any of that. I would have just gone on to the cross trainer for 30 minutes and then gone home if I went to the gym at all.
Yeah. So the mentality in terms of how mentally better it's made you feel, and the confidence it's given you as well, because the confidence that you can now go into the gym and go on the Stairmaster and use the machines, that self-confidence isn't just about the confidence in the gym, but it's had a huge crossover effect into your personal life. Now, I've seen that in your check-ins, because I always ask my clients about things that are going outside of the gym as well, because I want to know, because it all does make a difference. Like when Emma had a lot of stress the other month, I wasn't expecting Emma to show up and tick every single box the way she had done, because the priority then was let's cruise along, so we don't want to do anything. Let's make sure your mental health is tip-top priority. But some of the things that you were saying that you were able to do, the confidence that you had in those moments to make those decisions and take actions, has come about from this confidence that you built within the gym. And that's why this is why I do what I do. This is the main reason, because of the change it can have in you as a person and in your life, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think the gym never felt like my kind of environment, and now I definitely feel like that it is part of my extended environment, and I really love going. So before I felt totally out of place, didn't like it. Now I love it. And like you say, I think feeling confident, because of what we're doing at the gym, has definitely translated into other areas. And it's really nice to hear that as well, and to see people see the difference in you as well, to be like, or Emma, you seem more confident, you look amazing, like what's going on, what are you doing differently? And it's really lovely to for people to not validate what I'm doing, because it's not something I'm looking for, but they can sense that there's been a real shift in terms of how I approach things. And there's been a few months where things have been really tricky, like personally for me, and like you say, we've adapted, and I think before I started doing coaching, I would have just stopped. I would have pulled back and just completely stopped. But we haven't done that. We've just tailored things and been like, actually, just control what you can control, and let's just keep moving, even if it's not at the same pace of which it might have been if you weren't dealing with all this other stuff. So having that flexibility, and actually having you, Lucy, who's really supportive, and also responds in that way, and can see that sometimes actually, like you say, I'm not going to tick every single box, but let's just focus on one box, and that is actually better than nothing. Whereas I think if I hadn't had a coach during that time, I would have actually just spiraled into really bad habits that I've done before.
And you didn't.
And I haven't. So that's great. Yeah, I haven't. I'm still here, still moving.
Still fighting. Amazing. In terms of nutrition then, so what has changed in terms of your relationship and understanding of nutrition? Because obviously with Slimming World, it's very similar, isn't it, to calorie counting in the respect that you having to stay accountable, but there's no understanding of why you're prioritizing what you are. It's like, well, I'm just going to have probably as much free stuff as possible so I can fit as much into my day so I'm not starving. But then you end up eating shit that you don't really like mugshots. Like anyone who, regardless whether you're doing something well or not, just sack them off, because honestly they taste diabolical. They're horrendous, they're gross,
awful,
not good. So what have you learned? What's changed? What have been the biggest and most, I'd say, positive changes for you, sort of in terms of what you understand about nutrition and what it's allowed you to do over this last year?
I feel like I'm actually eating more, which I feel like I'm eating more, even though I'm probably not, but it feels like every meal I'm really conscious about what I'm actually eating. So I'm thinking about protein, and I'm thinking about actually how I want to fuel my body, and making more kind of conscious choices around that. So before, I would probably skip breakfast or have a big breakfast and skip lunch. Basically, I was a meal skipper before, and I would also pick the quick and easy stuff for dinner. Whereas now I have a huge breakfast of yogurt and protein and loads of fruit and stuff, and I never would have done that. And then and then at lunch is the same. I'm just really being aware of what I'm putting into my body, and making sure that I'm having that balanced across the day, so I don't have times where I'm just going to snack, or where I'm going to feel really, really hungry. So I think I'm just definitely more planned in that sense. And I would say this is definitely the bit which has probably been the hardest for me, like I say, just because I'm unlearning some of that behavior from Slimming World days. And I think it's definitely not been a straight line. You know what I mean? My journey's probably been a bunch of wiggles. I have I have weeks where I feel really kind of planned and really kind of conscious about what I'm doing, and then I have some weeks where I feel a bit all over the place. But I think that's why, just talking to you, Lucy, and getting confidence that actually I can just keep going, and it's not going to be, you don't need to be 100% perfect, and it's not all or nothing, because that's definitely been my mentality. And actually you might have had a meal where it's not necessarily been fully aligned into what I want to do, but that's okay. And we just keep going, and we think about what we need to do next. But I absolutely love the fact that I just feel like I'm eating more and eating better. And I'm absolutely addicted to protein powder as well, which I would never thought I would have said 6 months ago. I just love it. So yeah, it's great.
Which one are you on?
It's my relationship. I'm on, I think it's a chocolate coconut flavor. So it's a bit like a Bounty. With Greek yogurt, it's lush. And obviously the group as well are so supportive and all that stuff. So I feel like there's so many new flavors that I need to try.
I get people a bit, it's really funny, isn't it, whenever now someone posts oh, I've got suggestions, it's almost there's too many suggestions to go from.
Too many.
That's the thing about our group, isn't it? It's so different. This is probably another thing I was going to say, is our group community is not about who's lost the most weight. It's we tend to just, it's more that we just tend to share ideas. So if people got like, has anyone got any lunch ideas? Well, I think yesterday people were talking about new like gym outfit ideas, and everyone helps each other. But when people do post their wins, everyone's so supportive. There's no jealousy, there's no envy, because everyone's wins are something different, aren't they? Like some are, I've lost a couple of pounds. I think someone the other day was something like, I actually just, I went into the gym for the first time or something. And it's everyone's level of success is so different. But it's a really wonderful place to be. And I just love the fact that whenever there is a sale or a discount, someone's probably going to have told us. So we're always saving each other money. It's a bit like Martin Lewis, isn't it? We're always saving each other money.
It is.
And at the gym shop, whenever there's some of the days, like the sample.
You say that, Lucy, but I feel like I'm probably spending more money because there's just too many good deals going on, and
Let's not talk about that. We're saving money. We're saving money.
No, we are saving money. We are saving money, and like you said, I think the community aspect is amazing. And I love the fact that, like, I think you put a post up which was like share like what you're grateful for, and it was just lovely to see the variety and like how people are approaching things, and like you say, there's no competition at all. I think people are really, really supportive of each other, and everyone's on a slightly different journey, and that's what's so great. So you can take inspiration and you can be empowered by these women, but there's no competition at all. It's just, you do you, and that's it. It's brilliant. It's really good.
Amazing. Other thing I was going to ask you about nutrition was your sort of mentality and mindset towards like meals out, or sort of things that would maybe deem out of or off plan. So obviously with Slimming World, it is, sins points. If you've gone above the sins points, that's going off plan, so to speak. Now, obviously, when we have a goal, we have sort of targets, don't we? We have like calorie targets and things. Now, sometimes we've managed to make things fit, haven't we? Which is the beauty of calorie counting and doing it yourself, is that you can just shuffle things around. And I kind of look at it the same way that you'd shuffle your finances around. If one day you had to spend something a bit more, like if you're on holiday, you got your budget for your days on holiday, and then some days you're going to spend loads, don't you? So tomorrow we might have to have a quiet day by the pool because we went out yesterday and did a crazy golf for dinner out, had a few drinks. So we'll have a day by the pool to save it. It's kind of like that, isn't it? With like meals out or drinks. Okay. I'm going to probably use more of my calories today on this, which is cool. So I'm just going to pull back in the day. But sometimes it's absolutely fine. Like I've said to you, this occasion, this situation, it's probably actually going to be worse for you to try and factor it in because it's going to stress you out too much. So the reality is it's one meal or one weekend in the context of many weeks and many days that have been, I don't like saying it, but on plan, ticking the box. So go and enjoy yourself. Yeah. Have fun, you be mindful, don't do a 10,000 calorie challenge on me, but you'll probably be all right. So how is your mindset around these situations like socials and meals out or things going on different to how it was in Slimming World?
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Lucy, to be honest. When I was on Slimming World, like I say, I'd avoid things, or I'd bring like my own, meal with me. Or I would
on the dance floor
like
night out.
Yeah. Well, it was just, just awful, to be honest. Like you just pick things that you knew were low calories, even if you knew that that's not really what you wanted. Like you'd pick the thing that was like less sinful or whatever. And I think now when we talk about like meals out and celebrations and stuff, you are literally so supportive and just say, if this is about making memories, then like just go enjoy yourself. Like, like you say, it's one meal, it's one situation out of many. Doesn't mean that you're going to have undone all of your hard work up until this point. And I think that's definitely been a mentality shift. Because before I'd either blow out, like go crazy, and then have all of the food guilt the day after, like what have I just done? But there's just none of that. It's just an acceptance that I've made this decision to eat this, enjoy myself and have a great time, and that's okay. And then the next day you just go back onto like plan, as I know we don't like to use these words, like on and off plan, but you know what I mean.
Just go back to doing what you were, back to as we were.
Exactly. Yeah. And just like keep cracking on. And the food guilt is definitely not there anymore because I'm just eating what I want to eat and factoring that in. Like you say, whether that's having some more flexibility on that day, which means I might, the days after that have to think a little bit differently about what I'm eating, or if it's just a case of being like, well, that's just one day and let's just keep going. And it's just having that flexibility through the program. It's been amazing. So I think it's that thing where I'm still working on some of that, because it's definitely a challenge. It's definitely still like sometimes it rears its ugly head again, and I'm just like, oh my God, what have I done? But then just keep going. And then, like you say, like looking at my pictures, it's not impacting my journey. Like it might be taking me like a bit of a longer time, but then again, I'm in no rush. Like I've not got a set goal in my mind. I just want to be stronger and feel fitter. What that looks like, how, we just keep going. I've already achieved more than I thought I would have achieved when we first started. So who knows what will come next? Just keep moving.
We do. So the last little thing that I want to ask you is kind of like a finishing message. So I hope people have listened to this who maybe were where you were, or just feel a little bit stuck, a little bit lost. And I'm not here to be like propaganda, tell people what to do, but I just want to hear it from someone who's been there, done that, who's done the slimming world, done these approaches, who's now done something different. If you could go back to Emma, third year uni, who was about to start Slimming World, what would you tell her to do and why? Or, this is the same for any women out there who maybe are struggling, thinking about going back to these diet clubs and struggling. What's the bit of advice you'd give them? And what would you do instead? And why would you do that instead?
I'd just say to them, I think, really think about whether this is the best option for you, and don't be sucked in because it feels like it's the only option. Like, I think really look at why, like, what are your motivations and your drivers behind why you're doing this, and being really kind of honest and open with yourself, and then looking at different options available to you. Personally for me, I think I would say, Emma, like, you should look at coaching or something different then, and look at that kind of rounded perspective on nutrition and fitness and mindset, rather than just focusing on your weight and your body image. Because I think, like I say, I've had years of trying to undo some of that. So actually it would have saved me a lot of time and effort if I just kind of thought about, well, why am I wanting to lose this weight, and like, what is it really? Because I think even looking back now, it was about being fitter and feeling better in myself, like in the round, with mentally and physically, but I was always associating that with my body weight. So I think it's just, really understanding what your motivations are, and then looking at options. And if you're in the right circumstance to do coaching, I would 100% recommend that to anyone. And I would just say that, like, Slimming World isn't always going to be your friend. Like, it might seem that way, and as I say, I've been successful through that, but now, I'm not its biggest fan. So I don't want to sit here and basically bash Slimming World, but it is, I think, I think there are lots of other options. And if you can, if coaching is a feasible one for you, then absolutely look into it. I think I've learned so much more about my body and how it and what I need than I've ever done before. So I feel like, I don't know if I answered your question, Lucy, but that's
You did.
Okay, grand. Yeah.
We're on the same way.
But just everyone should just come and work with you, basically. That's my little plug. This is like the best thing. This is the best investment I've made for myself, I think, ever. So I would 100% recommend it.
Oh,
21.
You're making me want to cry. I promise I've not paid it to say that as well. I'm not like just to stand there.
No, 100% not. No, there's no payment, but I really do think that it's like, we've talked about this before, where if you can invest in like counseling and stuff, it's just investing into yourself and being able to prioritize yourself. And I think people really downplay that.
They do.
And like, you might pick, decide to do a holiday, which is giving you a short-term, happiness fix, but actually this is about your inner happiness, isn't it? And about being really like, and I think, so people downplay the value of that.
I don't really know why we do, but we definitely do, because like I put that post on the other month when I've started to work with TMP, who was like sort of like counseling for sort of fitness professionals specifically. That is the most amount of money. It is the most amount of money I've ever spent in one go. That was like my money. That wasn't like, I spent more money on a car, but obviously that's like finance and stuff, and it's different. But that is the most money I've ever had sat in my bank, and I've just paid it there and then. It's like, holy shit.
What have I done?
What's the point in having that money there? And I could have gone and bought, Gucci this, or do you know what I mean? I could have a holiday. I could have done anything I wanted with that money, really, if I'd wanted to. But for me, it was like, well, what's the point in doing, like I said, doing one little thing that's going to give me a quick buzz, a quick holiday, you know, feel amazing for a second, rather than working on how I feel in myself every single day.
Every day.
Because every day matters more than those one days. Every day, I think feeling like an 8 out of 10 every single day is more powerful than having that quick fix 10 out of 10 amazing feeling for a day and then being a 2 every other day.
I 100% agree. I really do agree with that. And I think that's why, you know, we're still working together, and I can't imagine not, because I think it's, you know, it's a work in progress, but I want to feel that way. I want to have that kind of consistency of feeling, rather than having real extreme peaks and troughs. So that's why it is such an important investment, and everyone should do it, basically.
I'll be retiring.
That's my little plug for you, Lucy.
I appreciate it. I'll be retiring, and Emma will be like, are you sure you don't want to do another 5 years? No, Emma, I'm going. I'm retiring now. I'm off. I'm done.
I'm done. I've done it. Yeah.
But amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Emma. I hope that's been really powerful. Emma, am I okay to leave your Instagram handle in the show notes in case anyone who has listened to this wants to reach out to you personally? Because again, like I said, I think it's powerful that people reach out to people who've been there, done that. Because
100%.
If anyone wants to talk, but they've been where Emma is, I'm sure she's happy to chat within reason, guys. Come on, don't pester her. But I'll leave Emma's Instagram in the notes. But thank you everyone for listening, and thank you so much, Emma, for your time. It's been amazing, and I'll catch everyone on next week's episode.